I assume Joy Reid knows the camera and microphone we're on. Here now with reaction, former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf. Chad, obviously the president ran hard for 10 years on border security and deportations of people who are illegal, particularly criminals. What is it about the Democratic Party where we can't find 1, 5, 10, a million of them to admit that this is a big issue and it's going the way the people want it to go?
Well, I agree with you. Obviously, they got it wrong for 4 years under President Biden. They continue to get it wrong. They're on the wrong side of this issue. And folks like Joy Reid, I mean, I don't know what that clip was. That was insanity. I literally don't know what she's talking about there. And I think most of Americans just kind of like look at her and say, that's crazy. It's very clear what President Trump and his team are doing, which is they have to clean up the mess of the last 4 years of the Biden administration, letting over 12 million individuals come into this country, a lot of them criminal aliens. And so you got to remove them, right? And that takes time and that takes effort and that takes resources, which obviously came in the big, beautiful bill that President Trump and his team got over the finish line. So there's a lot of work being done. There's a lot of progress being made. And the Democrats, they just can't help themselves. They don't want to give the president a win. And I think fundamentally they don't believe in immigration enforcement.
It certainly seems that way. We couldn't get a single Democrat, Chad Wolf, to vote for the one big beautiful bill, which, as you full well know, as the former acting DHS secretary, includes so many provisions to help fund ICE and deportations and build that wall. You didn't have any of that kind of funding at your disposal then. Let me ask you what kind of deterrent effect you think all of this action in these first 8 months has on those who would want to come here, would want to be coyotes and take people's money, traffic these young girls, the drug mules. What is the deterrent effect on them?
Well, it's incredible. And I think you just have to look at the data. Across the board, it tells you that President Trump's policies are working. Apprehension numbers are at an all-time low. Criminal referrals, the Department of Justice, are at an all-time high. Removals or repatriations are at an all-time high. So what President Trump and his team are doing is working, and it's also driving down what we call the pull factors of bringing people here. And I think, again, it's important to remember, under 4 years of the Biden administration, the cartels thrived. They had more money, they had more power, they had more territory, more weapons than they've ever had before. And so that was 4 years under President Biden. Under President Trump, he's not only trying to put them out of business, he's trying to wipe them off the face of this earth because he understands the national security threat that they pose to everyday Americans.
And Chad Wolf, on day one of his presidency in the second term, President Trump declared those drug cartels foreign terrorist organizations. So he's been on this from them. When we worked together on the drug crisis, we heard the president in the Oval Office talk about perhaps doing this with the cartels in the first term. And I'm so glad he has the tools now. What happens next with that? How does the process unfold to go after those cartels who may be in a different country?
Well, I think we've already seen it. Obviously, the designation was the first piece. You've already seen the Department of Treasury issue sanctions, the Department of Justice prosecuting individuals at ICE, targeting them here for removals. And so the next logical step is to take the fight outside of the homeland and to the cartels themselves. So I think a lot of the recent reporting that you see has the Trump team thinking about doing just that.
Excellent. And it started with you in the first term. Thank you, Chad Wolf.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.